Cancel culture sucks. Unfortunately, when it comes to the internet, too many people think they have the power to ruin careers, and they love it. They love thinking they got people kicked out of industries because they did or said something they think is wrong. Now, someone who's been targeted a lot over the past few years is Vic Mignogna. Vic has been accused of doing terrible things to people that were his fans and also other voice actors, but there's been very little, quote, evidence proving he did any of these terrible things. Luckily, there's still plenty of companies willing to work with him, but of course there's also been a few that have had no backbones and gave into demands of cancel culture vultures, and some of the voice actors who made accusations against him that Funimation stood behind have decided to launch a podcast, capitalizing on their, quote, trauma. I have a bunch of things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or support the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. So every single day, I look through a list of websites, many different websites covering gaming topics, entertainment topics, anime topics, industry topics in general. And this is something that I saw yesterday, and I was absolutely shocked by it. I could not believe that I was actually reading that this is something legitimate. It's not fake. It's not a joke. It's not a parody. This is real. So, this is from Anime News Network. It says Monica Rial, Jamie Marchi launch podcast about Vic Mignogna defamation case. Voice actresses Monica Rial and Jamie Marchi released the first episode of the In Touch podcast, focusing on their 2019 defamation case filed by fellow voice actor Vic Mignogna. I'm sure you all know about the Vic Mignogna situation at this point, but these women and many other people came together to accuse Vic of doing terrible things, of being just a generally terrible human being. They ended up getting him fired. Funimation refused to work with him anymore, and many companies also now refuse to work with him. So the podcast, which aims to be updated monthly, retells the events from their perspectives. The first episode lays out the timeline of events from Funimation contacting Mignogna about its investigation into allegations of sexual harassment and terminating the company's work relationship with him, to Rial and Marchi's first public statements on Twitter. Their response to a defamation lawsuit is to continue defaming someone, willing to take them to court over defamation. That does not sound very smart to me, I'm gonna be honest. Now, the description for this podcast sounds absolutely atrocious. Just listen to this. The podcast website's tongue-in-cheek description reads, "Listen to our adventures in talking publicly about being sexually harassed, getting harassed online for talking publicly about being sexually harassed, getting sued for talking publicly about being sexually harassed, having that case against us get thrown out because we're allowed to talk about publicly being sexually harassed, and the further harassment we received for having a case against us for defamation because we talked publicly about being sexually harassed, get thrown out because we're allowed to talk about being sexually harassed." I don't get paid enough to read that 10 times fast. This description has to be one of the most unprofessional descriptions of a podcast that I've read, but this is just too far. Yes, there are people online who talk about their traumas and situations that have shaped the way they view the world, but it's usually done in a professional manner, and this is like a high schooler was told to write a description for a podcast using certain terms, and this is what they came up with. They got a man canceled over allegations, and while some companies companies will still work with him. Many won't, so they virtually got his career ruined over allegations, and now they're starting a podcast to capitalize on it. I can't believe, truly, that they have the guts to do this. This reeks of desperation for relevancy and money. I'm just going to be honest. It's like they can't accept the fact that Vic has so many supporters, so they're going to start a podcast to hopefully make money and gain attention from it. Yes, Vic's lawsuit failed initially, but it's been sitting in appeals for over a year now. And let's be honest, we're talking about one story from each woman. So all you really need is 2, maybe 3 episodes. You can have one to lay out the general timeline and then one for each woman's story. But starting a whole podcast to milk this seems very, very excessive. It, of course, says Mignogna's lawsuit against Real Markey, Real's fiance, and Funimation was dismissed with prejudice in November 2019. But again, it's been sitting in the appeals for over a year now. Now, the court found that all causes of action against all defendants asserted by Mignogna were based on, related to, or were in response to the defendant's right to free speech, the right to petition, or the right to association under the TCPA, the state's measure to protect against SLAPP lawsuits. Now, I have followed the Vic Mignogna case for many years now, because this has been going on a very long time, and I truly have not seen enough evidence to go, oh yes, he is 100% guilty, and I don't think that people should be fired, have their careers completely ruined over simply accusations. But of course, back in 2020, he did maintain his innocence in a live stream, and I had talked about this when it happened, but I wanted to quickly bring it back up. It says voice actor Vic appeared in a 13-minute live stream on Tuesday where he directly responded to the allegations by voice actresses, Monica Rial and Jamie Markey, that led to his failed court case last year. He has maintained his innocence, stating that his accusers were false friends and their statements are not true. He went on to deny Rial's claims that he had any sexual interest in Markey, and additionally denied the account given by voice actress Kara Edwards in her sworn affidavit. He said, I've never once in the history of my life forced myself on anyone ever. I've made normal advances that were either accepted or rejected, and that was that. And I'm someone who, of course, says I think that normal advances are perfectly fine. I don't think that telling a woman, hey, I think that you're really beautiful, you're really attractive, I really like you, I don't think that those are bad things. I don't think that those are cancelable offenses. I don't think people's careers should be ruined over simply showing interest in somebody. And of course, it's 2022 and people think that those things are absolutely disgusting and ridiculous and you can't do that anymore. But it says he would go on to say that he has never been in a fight, has never hurt anyone, and never would. In my opinion, based on the interviews I've seen with Vic, he seems like a genuinely really nice person. He seems really cool. He has a passion for his job. He has a passion for the industry, and he seems like an overall really decent guy. I've personally never gotten to talk to him, but I've seen him in many, many interviews, many different panels that he's done over the years. I personally am a fan of Vic's. I know that, of course, if you aren't, that's okay. Everyone's allowed to have their own different opinions, but he has faced the wrath of cancel culture vultures over the past few years. Like this situation right here is not even that old. It happened back in December of 2021. Members of Star Trek Continues cast and crew throw support behind Kick Vic, condemn former Captain Kirk actor Vic Mignogna based on Funimation allegations. Here is yet another one. Vic Mignogna was removed from the Los Angeles Comic-Con back in December as well. These people do not stop. These people won't even give him a chance to say his side of the story. They have never cared about his side of the story. But they think it's okay that his accusers, the people that are coming forward and making all these allegations against him, they think it's perfectly fine that they are making a whole podcast to milk this situation. I personally do not think that they should be making a podcast over this. They haven't officially won. They haven't fully closed the case. It's in the appeals process currently, and I personally think that they definitely should have waited until that at least went through. Again, this whole podcast reeks of desperation for relevancy and money. I truly and genuinely could not believe they had the guts to come out with this, and I made a tweet about it. I said, nothing says I went through the most traumatic experience of my life more than launching a podcast to capitalize on those clicks. It has over 330 likes right now. A lot of people didn't know about the situation. I didn't even know about it because it's brand new. They just decided to launch the podcast, but a lot of people, of course, are saying things like, I stand with Vic, I can't believe that they do this is absolutely outrageous. Somebody said this only happened a couple of years ago. Doesn't seem like something an actual victim would do. Why would a victim, after not that long, make up a podcast to talk about something so traumatic? Also, a podcast? That's what I said. It's not like they even did just like one episode of a podcast, one YouTube video. They're starting a whole podcast, so month after month, they can talk about this situation. Maybe they'll only make a couple of episodes of this podcast to talk about their sides of the story, but clearly they are milking this whole situation for views and clicks and to hopefully gain relevancy. But that's all that I really had to talk about in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.